It's like saying I'm not going to have an ego. So when I was early on doing the work, I would read all this stuff like, you have to get rid of your ego, you can't have an ego, you have to get rid of your, and then as I'm getting deeper, I'm like, well, you can't. You can't do it. It's like saying, I'm not going to have judgment, you can't do it. I'm not going to have expectation, you can't do it. Trying to minimize it. You're not trying to, because it's like Catholic school when everything was a sin. So I was a little kid. See, I think I was actually waking up then because I was sitting in school, I'm listening to these things, everything was a sin. Everything. If you thought about it, it was a sin. You don't have to do it. So I'm like, now I can't, how am I going to do this? I said, I can't do it. I said, now I don't get any credit for just not doing it. I had a thought of doing something bad and I stopped myself. That's still a sin. Then it was all levels of the sin. Mortal sins, venial sins, at different levels. That was confusing. Like this was ugly because that wasn't a bad sin. Like almost like all the sins had categories of better or worse. Then you went to, anybody ever go to, if someone was old enough to remember the old confession? Everybody go to the old confessional in Catholic school? You never went to that? No. Well, see, when you guys did it, my son did it face to face. When we did it back in the day. So now, you're like 7. I forget how old we were. About 7, right? That was the first time. So in the church, they had this area where you would go to give your confession. Now, first of all, at 7, how much are you confessing? What did you do? Would you eat candy? What'd you do? So you go in. Yeah, whatever you did. And a big one that we used to have, like we used to all write them down because we said we didn't know what to say. One would be, I disobeyed my mother. That was a big one. Because that was like the biggest sin you could have. Like I didn't listen to my mother. So you go in, there were 2 curtains on either side, and the middle was a box. It was where the priest was sitting in the box. And you would go into the little curtain, and then there was a kneeler. You'd kneel on the kneeler, and then this door would slide open. But very fast. It would be like, Pete, what was it? Oh, jeez. And the priest was sitting there, and you couldn't really see him because it had like this screen type of thing. It wasn't an open glass, it was like a screen. And he would, he was like sitting back and you were kneeling and he would start talking, okay, tell me your sins. And it was terrifying. It's like the Wizard of Oz and you're like, oh, this is what I did. And then it's all right, go say 3 Our Fathers, 10 Hail Marys, and you're good. So I'm like, that's it? That's all I have to do. So no matter what sin I commit, just go, a couple of Hail Marys and I'm good to go. I can start sinning all over again. Let me start the sinning again. I can just go in there and sin it up because I'm going to be able to go and just say a couple of Our Fathers and I'm going up. So that's it. So this is what we learn. So this is scary, right? So this is what ended up happening. That's a little sidebar. But anyway, so now I'm trying to live in an awake life. Now, first of all, you have to remember, you're awake in a world where most of the people are not. That's challenging. Because most of the people, it's funny, we always talk about every day we want to be kind to everybody. Even people who are not the nicest, who are not true. But just being kind is a very powerful thing. Like I love to go to Publix, it's one of my things. That's I would put it on my list as well. But I want to just be nice to everybody. How are you doing today? You walk in, how's everything? Walking to the cashier. I know all the cashiers in there. I go there. I'm there like 3 or 4 times a week. So I'm obsessed with Publix. I don't know why. Because they have BOGOs. But anyway, BOGOs. So I get very excited about the BOGOs, so buy one, get one free.
Oh, okay.
I'm super excited about that. So I'm always in there. But it's just a matter of like, whatever, you're walking down the street, you're going to your restaurant, just being nice to people, like just being kind. People, that's a very big thing. People don't realize that. Think of how many people are not like that. They're just so nasty all the time. Well, again, in that egoic state of being nasty. So now, we're awake. We're trying to live this way. We're going in this direction. We're trying to live in a more high level of energy. But first of all, we're encountering all these people that are irritating. They're very irritating. So they're annoying because they're like, you're not getting it and you're acting like an idiot and I can't have this. So I'm trying to say, right? Yeah, it's like, this is how you're acting. And you try to talk to people and you say, okay, we had a whole thing with the vaccines, fights with people were fighting with me on Facebook. And I remember at one point I just said, listen, everybody should do what they want. To me, that was not making a stand. I'm just saying, if you don't want to get it, don't. And people attacked me on all, I can't even explain to you. You're killing people.
You weren't on a side.
Yeah, well, I just said, do whatever you want. But people attacked me and said, you're killing people, you're supposed to be spiritual. I said, why am I killing people? I'm just saying, do what you want. Why is that killing? But people were so dug in, right, to their belief system that just by saying, do what you want, people went crazy. Now, there were people who I knew who said, no, that's not what he's saying. He's just saying, do what feels good for you. So we saw that villainizing people, right? Shaming people, all the stuff that's happening. So we're trying to deal with people and say, okay, the hardest part of it to me, I think, doing this is I can't judge them because they're asleep. So that's why I think we see somebody acting in a certain way, and a lot of this could be your family, it could be people you know, whatever it is, right? So think about what's happening. If I'm negative, I'm trying to get people to separate. Think about what is happening versus where we want to go. So we want to be love-based energy, we're all one source. What is the whole world doing? Separating everybody. You're separating us by race, you're separating us by gender, you're separating us by political, you're separating us by vaccine status. So everybody's like, oh, I'm over here, you're over here. So we're all that's the goal of the oligarchs. That's the goal of the cabal. That's what they want. They want us separated. So what do? Every single thing they do is designed to separate, whether it's political, whether it's religious, whether it's vaccines, whatever it is, we're separated, right? They want us separate. So they say, hey, everybody, you're all good. Do whatever you want. Just be nice. So hope that you can. It doesn't always, not always the case, right? This is why human beings have been warring forever.
Yeah.
And think about it, the whole society for thousands and thousands of years has all been about gaining power. Think about it, if you go back to ancient civilizations, going back all the way to Egyptians, Persians, Greeks, the whole, Romans, the whole thing was all about what? Expanding their empire, taking over people's areas, taking away what people had. This country too, what did we do? They came here and took the land away from the Indians. Then these people say, oh, well, look what they're doing over there. Well, what did we do here? We did the same thing. Like, what do you think this country's built on? We came here and took the land away from the poor Indians, and then we built our society. We did the same thing. See, this is what I'm saying. Everybody gets on their own thing, right? Because they don't know anything. Oh, look what they did. Well, we did the same thing. So this is what's been going on forever. So this is what we're trying to get away from as we go into higher energy and source. But to Kim's question, which was like an hour ago, let's get back to it. So now I'm living in this world in an awake state, but I'm still a human being. And I can't be perfect. That's the first thing we have to do. So does anybody grow up in that world? The be perfect world? Anybody grow up like that? You have to be perfect, you have to be perfect, you can't do anything, you can't do anything. You got a 98, that's no good. The perfect world. So now, as I go through life, the higher you go, the less apt you are to be triggered. But we're still people. So as humans, there are going to be times when you're saying, right, I'm walking the high road, but this happened. It's the same thing. It's all tied together. The ego to the identity to the karma is all one thing. So we all have those incidents, right, when it comes up.
So good. Yay me, I'm normal.
Yeah. You don't want to be normal, but anyway, that's everybody, we're all emotional. So we all have stuff. So think about your karma is what we came to clear.
Yeah.
Right? We all came to clear karma, which is emotional things that we want to resolve within ourselves. So when I have an incident, that means there's an emotional issue that's not clear.
Yeah.
So when it's not clear, either I have a way, now doing this a long time, you can actually avoid this altogether, but it takes time to get there. So the first phase is, let me just deal with these things immediately to flush the energy out, because if you don't flush the energy out, all you do is keep doing it.
So, and that's what I don't want to be doing, is suppressing it, like
Right.
seeing that memory come and pushing it down.
So do you have a specific memory that you can give me that we can do it?
I mean, sure, I was in an abusive relationship with a husband, so
Okay.
I have a lot of stories around that relationship that I'm still moving.
Gotcha. Okay, so how long ago was that?
I only left a year ago.
Okay, so it's fresh. So it makes sense that it would be fresh. Now, going back to your childhood, who did this person remind you of?
Oh, my dad.
Okay, so he's your dad. Okay, so
Good
you married
story.
your dad, which is a normal thing.
Good to,
Right?
it's
We
good
all do the
story.
same thing. You marry your mom, you marry your dad. That's
Yeah.
fine. So the anger is really towards your dad.
Okay.
It's not towards him. So here's how it works. I'm upset. I got something going on. Right? Now, my parents have passed. Something comes up, they're not here. They're not even here, right? So I have to deal with the feeling. So what I want to do is say, okay, so what we'll do in 3D world is we'll say, you know what? I have this feeling, I can't clear, I don't know what it is, and I'm going to bring in a circumstance or a situation to bring it into my consciousness so I can deal with it.
Okay.
So therefore you bring in a husband who's similar to your father because you're still holding anger towards your father that never got resolved. And it could have played out anyway. It could have been a boss. It could have been a friend. It could have been anything, right? So now what we tend to do is say, I'm going to look at the husband as the bad guy. The husband is just the manifestation of the father. So if
karma.
Right, it's the karma that you brought in on purpose because that's something you came to work on. So what happens is now I have the anger toward my father that I didn't clear, and I'm still carrying the vibration. See, because your body energy is working off the vibration. It's not working off your mind, it's working off your vibration. So your vibration is saying, you know what, we have to clear this out. You don't seem to be doing it. We're going to bring somebody in so you could bring it into your consciousness, and then you could say, I need to resolve this because this is not working.
Yeah.
So what you want to be able to do, and I'll give you the quick, I have this in my book, but you want to first be able to write down the feelings you had on him.
Oh, my dad.
Right.
Okay.
Well, there's no good or bad feelings, so there's no judgment. It doesn't matter that he's passed or not. It's just, what are my feelings that I'm holding on him? And those are the feelings that are driving this anger toward the ex, because really it's about him. So everything that we do here is going to be...
Even though my ex, I was with my husband for 30 years.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Even though he was pretty awful for 30 years, that was because I let him.
Well, now this is going to sound really weird, but when I first started doing this work, if somebody said that, the teacher would say, well, that's what you wanted.
Yeah, I've read a lot about that. Yeah,
but you want, not that you consciously wanted it.
No, I needed it.
Emotionally, that's what you wanted. That's what you needed to get to experience.
Yep.
You have to remember, your soul wants to experience the emotions.
Yep.
And it's up to us to then say, okay, I need to either... Now, you have to remember, when I'm in a negative egoic state and I'm asleep, I don't know this.
Exactly.
So it's not your fault. Somebody's fault.
New processing
right.
For me.
So it's not like I got up in the morning and said, this is what I want. That's not a conscious thing, right? Yeah. This is an emotional thing, right? So my unconscious is saying, okay, this, first of all, what we talked about before, whatever household I grew up in carried energy. Our normal thing to do is do that over. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna come from this household that was disruptive to this household that was disruptive because that's what I know how to do. And that's what's comfortable for me. So you have to remember, we will always go back to the comfortable spot. It doesn't, there's no, and again, in energy work, there is no judgment. So it's not good or bad. It's just, this is my thing. I know how to be in a very disrupted. When I got peaceful, and my wife will tell you this, I freaked out. Correct? Completely was disabled. Because I was so calm and peaceful, I didn't know what to do with myself. Because I grew up in total dysfunction, total chaos, total negative energy. So all of a sudden, you start crossing into this other place. It takes a while to get comfortable being, even though it's positive, you would think, wow, that's a positive space, don't you want to be there? I do, but I don't know what to do with it, because it's not my thing. I never did it before. So, no, it's true, because it sounds crazy, right? Yeah. But it is what happens, right? I never did it, so therefore, I don't know what to do with it. It's like, this is what you see when people win the lottery. What happens? They lose all the money. There's some crazy, the statistic is overwhelming. It's like 88% of the people end up with no money out of window. It's almost like you look at it and say, how's that even possible? It's like,
yeah, just invest it.
Just do something.
That's what I just say.
Right.
Just put half.
Yeah, put it somewhere. Put it in the bank. Do something.
Every time I read that.
One guy, I'm reading a story. One guy, he bought 1,000 pairs of the same pants. Why? They fit well. He bought 1,000 pairs. All right, 1,000. How long are you gonna live? So like 1,000 pairs. They buy a house for their friend. They buy a car for this. The next thing. You know, people they don't just, because part of it is they don't know what to do with that feeling of wealth or receiving or having means. They don't know what to do with it. So energetically, it's almost like I gotta get rid of this. And this is what happens with love, right? We receive love. We don't know how to receive it. I have to get rid of it because I don't know how to receive it. It's not that I don't want it. I don't know what to do with it. So what I have to do is get myself into an energy of, oh, this is where I want to live. This is the normal thing. Being in source energy, being in a state of love, being around people who love and care about me, being around, and again, we're not in a perfect world and we have to deal with that, but overall.
Unique.
No, again, you're not unique because we're all one energy. We're all doing the same thing. We're all doing the same thing. Nobody's different than anybody else. We're all going through the same cycle and it's just at different phases, right? You're in an early phase of awakening, right? We've been doing this, we've been waiting for years for people to wake up.
Yeah.
we're like, now they're finally starting to be a little more awake. And when I meditate, it's like, well, you had to be ready because you're going to help people. They are new, but you had to go through all that stuff with all these people who were sleeping, so you could be ready to deal with it at a higher level. Not better or worse, but just say, okay, that was part of your training, so to speak.
And can you speak into the painfulness of shedding a spouse,
right.
family,
right.
friends? Like, that's my ego feeling that pain, correct?
So what happens is, you have to, okay, everything is, in a scientific sense, it's frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So think about this. If this frequency and this frequency don't align, what happens? They can't be together.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're human and we have the story, right? Oh, it's my mother, it's my father, it's my kid. So we attach the story, which is part of our ego and part of our identity, okay, and part of what I'm supposed to be. I'm not allowed to not talk to my family. That's like makes me the worst person in the world. But energetically, it's saying you're done with them.
Yeah.
Karmically, it's like, okay, you finished your karma with these people.
Yes.
They are unable to elevate. Your frequencies are not aligned anymore. So it's almost scientifically impossible to do. And what people do is, and we see it all the time, we did it, you try to force it to work, and it's not good. It's a bad seed, because you're trying to force these people up, and they can't come up.
Yes.
Now, maybe somewhere down the road they will.
Yes to all this, but there's still the...
So there's emotional pain. So here's the feelings you have to go through.
Yeah.
Shame.
Okay.
Guilt.
Yeah.
Failure.
Okay.
Those are your big three.
Okay, good.
So what you have to do is you have to say, so I had a lot of shame. I didn't talk to my, without, in my situation, for me to have a break with my mom and my sister, which we did not speak for years, got to the point of, okay, you get to what I think of as the fork in the road. Okay, so the fork in the road is, I have done everything I can to try to do this with these people, and I can't. Doesn't mean it's not emotionally difficult.
Yeah.
So you're gonna feel those feelings. So you have to say, I have to allow myself to feel the shame, feel the guilt, and I felt like I failed. Because I was supposed to be the son that took care of everybody. It was this identity, right? Back to the ego identity that I had. But I have to accept it. And I have to feel, and I felt sad, and I cried. And I felt very sad about it. I felt very bad about it, not being able to do that. That was like part of my life, right?
I broke up my whole family.
Right, so now you're the hero. You understand that?
No, it doesn't feel like it.
Because the hero is the one who doesn't allow it to continue, right? The other people do. So you're the hero. Now, when you cross over, or even when you're here, as you evolve, you're gonna realize you're the hero. You're the hero of all those people. And I'll tell you why also. You showed them there's another option. So your courage and your ability, even though it took you all those years, it doesn't matter. Most people would never do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a change, right? It's a fear, because change is fear-based, right? I'm gonna change, I'm gonna do something I don't know what to do. So now, you're the hero. Now in the beginning, believe me, I didn't feel like the hero, so it didn't work. So now I have to understand that this is hard, but this is the high road. The high road of spirituality or energy work is the difficult emotional road. It's easy to stay in the abuse and complain and be a victim. So you got to a point where you said, I can no longer be a victim. You're awake. So this is what happens with us. So the way frequency looks, if you look at frequency, low vibration looks like this. See, so it's like slow. High vibration looks like this. See the difference? So if I look at this from a frequency, if you went and looked at this in your own self, right, because you have frequency, if your frequency is here and their frequency, is this gonna work? It ain't gonna happen. This is not happening. This can't, it's like impossible scientifically, and it just can't happen.
It's like you're on FM and they're on AM.
Right, can't do it.
You're on a whole different
Right,
channel.
so now as we're talking about this whole new earth idea, you've all heard about this probably, right? So the new earth is about vibrational frequency shifts. And there's a lot of theories of how this is gonna play out, right? Are these people gonna just vibrate out somewhere else? And these people are gonna stay together? We don't know. Are we gonna be here but not even be able to see each other. That's actually one of the theories. Like, we're going to be here, but people in high frequency won't even know what these people are doing. That's where we're going. And it's going to happen on some form. We just don't know exactly what it's going to look like and how long it's going to take. But this is what's happening now. So the idea is to say, I need to stay in this frequency as much as I can. I'm still a person. We're going to have our moments. When something happens, I need to clear the energy as quickly as I can, deal with it, and let it go. I don't want to hold it. I don't want to keep doing it. The one thing you don't want to do, which is what people do, I just had this with someone recently, is they want to keep telling the story over and over. Anybody know? We like we're dramatic. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Humans, we like to be dramatic. So we want to keep, let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you the story. Let me tell you what's going on. Why do people, you want to watch dramas? Why? Because the people get upset. Things happen. This is what we like. So you have to catch yourself and say, I don't want to keep telling the story.
100%.
I want to deal with the feelings. But if I don't deal with the feelings, I can't get out of the story.
Okay, yep.
So if I'm holding the emotion, I'm stuck in this, right? I need to get up here. So what I need to do is say, okay, this is what happened. I need to deal with the energy and the emotion. If I don't know how to do it, you get help. Once you know how to do it, you're empowered. And this is one of the things we did for years. We did energy sessions with people and showed them how to do it. So
How to clear it.
How to clear it. So now, once you know how to clear it, you can then do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And there's different things you do. So one clearing we did was on day-to-day. And one clearing we do is preemptive. How do I clear it before I don't want to have to create an incident in this world. I'm gonna clear it out in advance. But you have to first clear out a lot of your stuff that's here. So like you have this just happened, you have a lot of emotion. And you're gonna have feelings on your mom as well. Right, so we have feelings on both parents. They're different because your dad did what he did, your mom did what she did.
Sure, because they were asleep and,
Right.
and trying their best, but.
But there's no judgment, right? There's no judgment, but the emotion is there. So this is the key to the whole thing. Your feelings are valid, and these people hurt you. It doesn't mean you have to hate them, but you hate what they did. You hate how they made you feel. You hate all that, which is okay, but I don't want to judge them and say, well, see, when the first thing I ever hear after all these years of doing this, when somebody says they did the best they could, you're in major trouble. You're up the creek. Well, they did what they could do. Is that true? Yes. Well, in their sleep state, they did what they could do, but it still hurt you.
Yes.
This is what we have to understand. It's like if you and I are standing at the edge of a staircase and I knock you down the stairs, well, even by mistake, you still got hurt, right? You went down, even though I said, wow, I bumped into you and you felt that, sorry, I didn't mean to knock you down. Now, they didn't mean to do it because they don't know they're asleep. But it still hurt you. So when people don't want to deal with it, they say, well, they did the best they could because they don't want to deal with the emotion that's sitting underneath. And then what they do is they just play it out in life, right? They just act it out or play it out in life. And then you'll see people keep repeating the same thing over and over again. That's the energy that's stuck here. So they just keep cutting, oh, okay, I stay on the wheel, I keep going around in a circle, I hold my identity. The other thing is you have to be willing to give up your identity, which is what we're talking about today. I have to give that up. That desire to control, that greed, that have to win. My mother was like that, she had to win. Everything was about winning. Like, think about it this way. In a victim energy, I think I have no choice. In a high vibration, I'm not in that fear base. So I'm saying you don't have to do this anymore. You could come up here, but you want to stay down here because you're attached to this identity and this routine. So this is where you want to live, in this space. And coming up here, it's like anybody who invented something scared everybody. If you look, there was a great book I read about inventions, all the things that we have now. And every single invention was met with negativity. Every single one. Electricity, printing, coffee, everything. I mean, it's like, as I'm reading this book, I'm like, like things that every day we don't even think about. The telephone, the television. People say, oh, this is never going to be, this is terrible, we don't want to have this. So every single new thing, people get afraid. Because you have to remember, electricity changed, it's like technology now, right? When something happens, it changes the whole landscape. All of a sudden, I don't need this anymore. I have Ubers, I don't have to go to a cab. Now we're going to have a self-driving car. No, we don't have 10, 20 years from now, you may say, oh, imagine these people were actually driving their own cars. Well, so it's scary for people. Anything new is scary. Humans are afraid of what's, even if it's better, they're afraid of it. People feared the printing press because they knew people would be educated. In the old days, all the knowledge was in a little group, right? The church had it, the certain powers had it. Now all of a sudden there's a printing press. Oh, now we have the internet. Now unfortunately there's a lot of weird misinformation, but now it's like I can get information out there and whoever wants to see it can see it, where before that wasn't possible, right? I had to get a book, now we started with printing and we worked from there. So anything new, so when these people see somebody doing something new, they're afraid. Because if you say, hey, I'm going to be a clown.
That's kind of what I said. It's
Well,
kind of what I said to them.
I'm going to be a clown, and they're like, what the hell are you doing? You can't be a clown. And then when you become successful, you say, oh, you see, I knew he was smart. I knew he should be a clown. No, you didn't. Now they want to jump on the bandwagon and say, oh yeah, I knew that. He was great to be a clown. That was great. So that's what you are. But you have to, it's like, you have to accept the role of, I'm the dissident of the group. I'm the trailblazer. Yes. And then you keep elevating, and then as you elevate, you will see. You'll have less judgment. You'll have less expectation. You will see people in a compassionate way because you know they don't know what they're doing. Right? So when I see someone who acts inappropriately, I send them a blessing. Because I know, well, inappropriately, I don't want to judge it, but you know, someone who acts nasty or whatever it is, you're going to send them a blessing because you know they don't know what they're doing. And they're in pain. If people are abusing others, they're in pain. That's what they're doing with they don't know what to do with that energy, so they put it on somebody else. Yeah. And that's what ends up happening. So we want to be in a state of grace, which is where we want to live, which is very hard here.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, but you know, I love when these people say, oh, just be in a blissful state. Yeah, good luck. Try that here every day and be in the world. When people say, oh, the monks, see, so years ago, the monks, right, they would go into a monastic state, right? And they would go up in the mountain because they said, they basically said, we cannot do this with you people.
Right.
We cannot achieve this dealing with you people. So what they do, they went into the mountains of Tibet or wherever they went, and that's where they lived. Very simple. They didn't talk to anybody else. There was only monks. That was it. So watch your show. My wife's laughing because she knows the story I'm going to tell you. So we'll watch your show. We're in California. The guys, it was a monastery in California up in the hills, and the guy's interviewing the one monk is showing them all around. And he's saying, oh, okay, oh, this is very peaceful. They have the little garden, and you know, they're doing those rakes with whatever they do. You know, those little rakes with the things and his rocks, and they walk, you know, whatever. So they're doing all this stuff, and the guy said, oh, this must be, the reporter is saying to the monk, oh, this must be the most wonderful, peaceful place. And the guy kind of pauses, and he goes, well, you know, some of the monks are annoying. So I heard, the monks are annoying too. They're still people, right? They're still people. So back in the day, this was the only way to achieve enlightenment, was to get away from everybody and then do it that way. What we're trying to do now at a higher level is still intermingle with these people and hopefully pull some of them up who want to be awake. And obviously the ones who don't, you can't, because they don't want to do it. You can't force them to be awake. You could guide them, you could, listen, we have friends too. We try to help them, call us up, we'll get together, they'll call you back. So I'm like, okay. Now in the old days, I would have chased them. I said, oh, I really have to help them because that was my thing. I got to help everybody. That was part of my identity. I have to help everybody. I don't. So I have to be able to say, okay, we made an offer, or I made an offer to you. You have chosen not to step forward. That's fine. No judgment on you. You're not ready. You're wherever you are. And that is what it is, right? So all we can do is put good energy out, bring the people up, who help the people who want to come up, work with people who are in even higher vibration, which we've done for many years to help us come up, and that's it. But it's going to be, you know, there's an old saying that says, pioneers get slaughtered, settlers prosper. And basically, the pioneers, you know, we went to see Cabrini the other day, the movie. Really good, if you want to see it. It just came out about Mother Cabrini. Really excellent movie. And came from Italy, didn't speak the language, comes across the whole ocean to New York to help build these hospitals. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, you just like, how could you even do that? The courage to come into another country and do this whole thing. So, and she took a lot of abuse because they didn't want her to do it, and she was Italian, and they didn't want Italians. You know, it was, you know, because the pioneers are the ones who take the bullets. Then the settlers prosper. So we have to take joy in the fact that we chose to be pioneers.
Yes.
So there's only one truth. There's only, the energy is the energy, right? That it is what it is. So it's us either saying, okay, this is what it is. How am I gonna, what way, what I think we need as people, I know I did, I think most of us, some way to a process to deal with it. Because we don't know how to do it. It's almost like, okay, now because a lot of people get awareness, but they don't go further because they're like, okay, I kind of know what's happening, but people say this to me all the time. I see I'm doing it, I can't stop it because I need the process, and that's what we learn to do, clearing the chakra system and clearing the energy field so that you can change the vibration, and then when you shift the vibration, you stop attracting that, and you'll notice it. You'll say, oh, that's not happening anymore. I'm not bringing in those kind of people anymore, or I'm not being spoken to like that anymore. I'm not seeing that in my life. People are acting differently towards me. This is what you're looking for. Oh, people opening a door for me all of a sudden, or something, somebody brought me coffee, or whatever, this is what you start seeing, like little things start happening. So that's why I'm saying you need to be very aware of what's going on, and understand that that's your vibration going out all day, 24/7, awake, sleep, whatever it is. So that's why when we carry a lot of these old feelings, we're still vibrating that energy even when we're sleeping. So that's why you wake up in the morning. It's kind of like, you ever have a situation where you're trying to figure something out or whatever it is, then you wake up in the morning, you have it? That's where it came from. Because your higher self said, okay, I'm going to bring it to you while you sleep. So I used to be waking up in the middle of the night all the time, running in and writing everything down. Now I got over it. But it was like, I was getting all these things were coming in. Now I'm able to kind of just get in the morning and meditate and bring it back in. But it's happening all day. You're bringing this stuff in all day. It's just being able to, it's almost like, how do I decipher what's really going on? Okay, so God bless everybody. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Vibrate high.
Yeah.